Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar. Today, we will be talking about a Security Service Edge SSE, which is essentially the security half of SASE. Now, this technology have been dominating the headlines of late of almost all media platforms, and a lot of analysts are talking about it. And even though it exactly isn't a new technology, but many of the vendors are projecting it as one and all security solution. So we'll try to decode what this buzz is all about, and in the way we'll see how we can make the best use of it. Over the last 2 years, we've come to realize that the pandemic has entirely changed the world and how we operate, and along with it, so has the cybersecurity landscape. As an impact of all these changes happening in the cybersecurity landscape, there will be a lot of new, unexpected challenges for the IT administrators or the IT department in every organization. So, I'll talk about these cybersecurity challenges that you need to be prepared for in the post pandemic world. Other than the pandemic, we also have been noticing how cloud technology have revolutionized the world in almost all aspects. But at the same time, the security issues that come with such rapid adoption of clouds are immense, and we have to take care of it, which is precisely why Gartner introduced its SASE framework, and it aims to address these cloud centric security concerns. And we'll tell you why SASE is actually an ideal solution for all cloud based cybersecurity challenges. We'll further discuss about another one of Gartner's latest buzzword, which is SSE. And post that, we'll see a detailed comparison and help you figure out which is the right cybersecurity solution for your organization. Now that the full blown pandemic phase is nearly over, fingers crossed, we are learning to deal with the virus, and organizations across the globe are opening up their offices for the employees to return. So, there is one impending worry for all the IT admins in the world. What new cybersecurity challenges are awaiting them in this post pandemic world? And are they even equipped to deal with such upcoming cyber threats? Now, let's talk a little more about these cybersecurity issues that we might encounter in the upcoming times. So, today we're looking at a rapid adoption of cloud based services all around the world, and businesses across all industries are shifting to cloud technology from their on premise operations. But what exactly is prompting them all to shift to cloud? The reason is actually pretty simple. Clouds are cost effective, they're highly scalable, and they drive high performance in almost every organizations and almost all industries. In fact, 94% of all enterprises across the world use some form of cloud services at present, and SaaS solutions are turning out to be one of the fastest growing IT industries. The subscription based working model, cloud centered operations, and their affordability, these are some of the factors which actually making it such a big hit. But in spite of these endless list of advantages, cloud and SaaS technology are causing huge disruptions in the world of cybersecurity. And as organizations are rapidly adopting these modern tech solutions, there is almost no consideration given to the security implications that they bring along. Organizations suffer from lack of control, from lack of visibility into these cloud network, because these services are often leased from a third party vendor, and outsourcing of such critical services also brings challenges in terms of security controls. So IT teams can definitely expect some major security concerns caused because of such rapid adoption of cloud and SaaS services. Moving on, the second challenge which we must be prepared for in the post pandemic era is securing the distributed workforce. Now, the pandemic has entirely changed the idea of what was once known as a workplace. While during the pandemic, we stuck to the remote workplace model, but organizations now are looking to adopt a hybrid workplace model. And as technology continues to evolve, it'll bridge the physical gap between employers and employees. And we've come to realize that a workplace can simply no longer exist just under one roof. Although remote or hybrid workplace models enable flexibility for the employees, they also bring in a lot of security concerns. Now, in the traditional workplace model, all employees used to be located within the perimeters of a secure corporate network, but now they are distributed across everywhere, from offices to homes to public places to coffee shops, everywhere basically. So, this has caused a multi-fold increase in cyber risks as employees are trying to access organizational resources from their personal devices, from unsecured Wi Fi networks, and all of this have eventually resulted in a highly complex and widely distributed cyber attack surface, which is almost impossible for the IT team to contain or to monitor and secure at all times. Now, coming to the toughest challenge that we're all struggling with at a global level, which is cyber attacks. Now, over the last few years, there has been an alarming increase in the number of cyber attacks across the world, but we should take a look at some real time numbers to understand the urgency of the situation better. So, the statistics is from Checkpoint Research. This will give you a better perspective into how far extending these cybersecurity issues are at a worldwide level. So they found that globally in 2021, each week, one out of every 61 organizations were impacted by ransomware. So one out of every 61 organizations each week. That is a crazy number, and that is the level of impact of cyber attacks on organizations of all sizes across all industries from across the world. So now we've established that cyber attacks are on the rise, and that is no big secret. But exactly how serious is it? Maybe a couple of more statistics will help us understand this better. This graph shows that there were 50% more attacks weekly on organizations in 2021 compared to 2020. In fact, in quarter 4 2021, the average weekly number of attacks on each organization globally was over 870, which is more than double the number of attacks in quarter 1 2020. And such terrifying is the state of cybersecurity at present. Now, we'll take a look at this survey. This was conducted among IT security professionals to track the percentage increase in cyber attacks across different categories. And the graph shows that cyber attacks were mostly observed in the category of data exfiltration and leakage, and phishing to some extent. The idea of discussing such overwhelming statistics is just to show you a glimpse into the real time impact of these cybersecurity risks. Now, I hope the last few statistics gave a grave reminder to all of us to analyze and update our cybersecurity strategies with the changing times. And to help us do this, Gartner has recommended a cybersecurity framework which is exclusively designed for cloud based operations and the security concerns that arise from them, which is Secure Access Service Edge. It's also known as SASE. And as we've previously discussed, this rapid adoption of cloud services have resulted in cyber attackers shifting their focus from on premises to cloud based services on a huge level. In fact, Gartner experts have identified that placing the on premise data center at the center of network security architecture is one of the major roadblocks since today's business demands dynamic access requirements at all times. Employees are widely distributed and they require access or they place access requests from different parts of the world for organizational resources, and we have to cater to such requirements for smooth operations of the business. This is exactly why there is an urgent need for cloud based security framework that can be deployed for the upcoming distributed networks. And in order to fulfill this need for an effective security framework, Gartner's SASE comes in. So the question is, what exactly is SASE? SASE is nothing but a strategy that brings network and security together to deliver a cloud based network architecture. Technically, SASE is composed of two parts: network and security. So, we will first talk about the network part of SASE. SASE uses the idea of network as a service, and it uses multiple standalone network security solutions. It brings all of it together on a single integrated cloud platform. So, a SASE enabled network will be globally distributed with decentralized access, and the idea is to ensure that security is present wherever the users are. And this can be achieved only when we extend the corporate perimeter across all endpoints. SASE's network part mainly consists of network security solutions like software defined WAN, content delivery network, WAN optimization, carriers, and a couple of other network solutions. Now that we've talked about the network part of SASE, we'll move ahead and discuss the security part of it. How does SASE extend a secure network to the cloud based resources, applications, and systems, and that too at all times? So, SASE has brought identity based access management system into its core. In SASE, identity remains one of the core elements using which users are authenticated, they're authorized, and then they're let into the organization network. SASE also deploys a unified access control policy which defines who can access what resource and how. Now, in this scenario, it becomes crucial to set these solid unified policies as the entire security of the network depends upon them. But who exactly controls these policies? These policies are mainly very well defined, they're monitored, and they're continuously regulated by the IT admins and the security professionals. The core idea is to maintain a consistent level of security for all the employees of the organization, irrespective of where they choose to work from. So, features like this will eventually become imperative in hybrid workplaces because employees are continuously moving in and out of the corporate network. So, it'll become a tedious job for the IT people to monitor and regulate the access behaviors of employees from different parts of the world. But to regulate such stringent or strict access control policies and an identity based management system, SASE employs multiple network security technologies like CASB, firewall as a service, secure web gateways, zero trust network access, which is a very important component of SASE, and UEBA, and a couple of other such security solutions. The ultimate goal of these network security solutions is just to ensure that the cloud network remains secure at all times and free from cyber attacks. So, the core idea of SASE is to bring multiple standalone network security solutions together on a single integrated platform based out of the cloud. What SASE fundamentally does is that it breaks the traditional network architecture design and transforms it in such a way that it's globally distributed. This is what makes SASE highly agile, and therefore it will suit every workplace model. And these advantages have made SASE one of the most sought after cybersecurity solutions, and this prediction by Gartner is just a proof of this. Gartner has predicted that by 2025, at least 60% of enterprises will have strategies in place and have a timeline in place for SASE adoption. And so, therefore, we can clearly see that the future of cloud security will be defined by SASE. And to become future ready, organizations need to ensure that their cloud networks are secured with SASE as their primary defense. Now, what we need to remember is that SASE was introduced in 2019, but as there were more unseen changes brought about by the pandemic, Gartner had to introduce another cybersecurity framework, which is the Secure Service Edge, SSE. Now, over the last few months, all the SASE buzz has been taken over by SSE, and rightfully so. But before we dive into SSE any further, we'll take a look at what Gartner has to say about it. So, Gartner predicts that organizations will soon be buying SSE as a bundling option to cover all the security aspects of their organization, and it'll act as a convergence of network security solutions that are delivered from a unified cloud platform. Now, based on our previous discussions, we already established that network and security are the two major components of SASE, of which, if we separate the security part of SASE, we get SSE. So, SSE is technically SASE, which is the security part of it. So, here the natural question arises, why is there even a need to separate SASE into SSE? SSE is important because it aims to secure three different possible areas of attack surfaces. One, the connection over internet. Two, connection to third-party SaaS applications. And three, connection to the organizational applications. So once these three security measures are integrated and monitored in the form of SSE, they can be easily controlled by the IT team and they can have a holistic visibility over it. Now, the IT admins can also set organizational level security policies to ensure that the same level of security is maintained throughout the organization. Gartner mainly introduced SSE as a short term alternative to SASE. The entire bundle of SASE, containing all the network and security components delivered from a single cloud based platform, seemed too futuristic for the current cybersecurity space. SSE solution will ideally provide an organization with the complete set of security solutions that is needed for everyone associated with the organization, be it their employees, their customers, their users, their stakeholders, any contractors or third party vendors. And among the very many possible security services that SSE can hold, Gartner has listed out a couple of must haves, and we'll just go through it right now. The first one being CASB, Cloud Access Security Brokers. So, CASB act as a line of security between users and cloud service providers, and it ensures data security and it ensures that the organization is compliant to all regulations. So it protects the corporate network from any possible cyber risks that may come while we are using SaaS solutions or the cloud networks, and it protects us from data breaches, from malware infections, and organizational policy violations. The second component is a secure web gateway. It acts as a line of security between users and the web. So, how secure web gateways work is pretty simple. Each time a user tries to access any website, they first go through the secure web gateway. It is at this stage in secure web gateway that the organization's security policies are implemented, and they perform a quick check to see if the user is violating any policy and prevent them further from accessing any website that is marked as blocked or restricted as per the organization's security policies. The third component, which is a very crucial component of the SSE bundle, is zero trust network access. So, zero trust network access is a security framework which applies zero trust policies throughout the organizational network. And once these policies have been applied, no user or device is trusted by default. So every time a user requests access, they need to authenticate themselves, they need to receive proper authorization, and then they will be allowed to access the organizational network. Along with zero trust, least privilege method is also deployed so that we can ensure maximum security, especially to sensitive data or business critical data or privileged resources. This statistic from Gartner is an indication of how important zero trust is in this bundle of SASE. By 2025, 70% of organizations that plan to implement zero trust will choose an SSE provider rather than a standalone offering. So, this means that organizations will move from buying zero trust as an individual solution, rather, they'll be getting SSE as a wholesome package for better security measures. But what is important to understand here is why there's a need for a solution like SSE, especially when we have SASE. Now, to answer that, SSE is actually the first step to a SASE enabled future. IT admins need SSE as a fundamental building block to ensure that we are at least heading towards a SASE driven future. So, by deploying the security aspect of SASE first, we are helping IT admins set their priorities right. And once the security part is all set and up and running, organizations can look to adopt SASE as a long term solution. So, it is also very essential to remember that SSE is not a replacement for SASE, and in the long run, both of these technologies are crucial to build an effective security strategy. Now we'll answer the most obvious question that everyone has. How are these two solutions different from each other, and which is my right fit? One, SASE is a more appropriate option for organizations that need a comprehensive, long term, cloud based security solution. These are organizations with well established security policies, uniform policies organization wide. On the other hand, SSE offers a short term solution that makes a path for SASE in the future. It offers network security solutions for both remote and office employees without compromising speed or security. Two, SASE is an all in one network and security framework which is delivered as one single service from the cloud. On the other hand, SASE just takes the security part of it and delivers it via cloud. But the most important difference is that SASE is more futuristic and is still a work in progress. It'll take time for companies to adopt this all containing network and security solution, especially from a single vendor, because that is a lot of commitment. But SSE is something any organization can look to adopt right away, right on this day. So we've established that zero trust is a part of the security aspect of SASE. So it's found in both SASE and SSE. Zero trust ideology of never trust, always verify actually makes it the best fit for both these frameworks. By removing the perimeter based security practices, zero trust just magnifies the core idea of SASE, which is the need for a unified network and security process independent of any other factors like network perimeter, device, or location of the user, location of the device, etc. The zero trust approach is just one of the core elements of SASE, as it entirely removes the idea of trust from the network, and it ensures that every user requires authorization each time with no exception. So, zero trust performs security control at an application level rather than at the network level, if you see. So this means that even if a user is located inside the corporate network, they will still be prompted for the same authentication or the same authorization measures as a remote user. So eventually, this will help protect the organization from outside threats as well as insider threats. This is why, no matter which solution you choose, the one thing that you cannot leave behind is zero trust. Now, beyond all these technical jargons and complexities, we need to remember that fundamentally both SASE and SSE are upcoming technologies. We'll see new capabilities and functionalities being added to them every day. So, for any organization to create a wholly SASE enabled network architecture, they have to take one step at a time. So, for successful implementation, be it SASE or SSE, there has to be an enterprise level roadmap laid out, which is tailor made or custom made to align with the organizational needs, with the organizational architecture, and has to be implemented in such a way that it doesn't cause any friction and the implementation is as seamless as possible. So, this brings us to our first step in this entire deployment process, which is to strategize. Now, strategy is the first and most important part of any plan. So, it's crucial for organizations to first strategize and then develop a SASE adoption plan that is highly scalable and suited for the organizational requirements, since the core idea of both SASE and SSE is to bring multiple cloud centric network and security functionalities together, multi sourcing schemes will eventually not work out. And in order to deploy a SASE or SSE solution, organizations must consider all the options in the market. All the vendors need to be vetted very carefully. We have to analyze their capabilities and what they deliver, how they deliver, so that they can tailor it to fit their specific needs and requirements. And eventually, in the long run, organizations must aim or have to aim to source every solution as a bundled package from one single vendor. Amongst this whole process of adoption and implementation, there are two sources which are of utmost importance: people and finance. Now, the shift to a SASE or SSE based organization can begin with either partial or complete implementation of the products based on the size of the organization or the architecture or the type of resources or the business requirements. So, you must first plan out your budget and create a migration plan to trace how this might affect the different parts of the organization or different departments. And the idea is just to keep the disruptions at the bare minimum and enable a smooth transition. As an added measure, we have to ensure that all the employees are trained on the upcoming new security or network solutions so that they remain prepared for what's coming. We know that the cybersecurity landscape is extremely agile and we never know what's coming, what's going to hit us. So we have to be prepared for any situation that may arise. So, such technical training will also ensure that the people in the organization understand the importance and the requirement for such massive changes. Now, coming to one of the most crucial steps in this whole deployment process, which is the timeline. Now, organizations have to remember that the adoption of such large scale solutions like SASE and SSE will be a gradual process. The IT and security teams, which are involved firsthand in these changes, need to be trained properly. They have to understand the impact and the architecture extremely well. Therefore, we have to remember that SASE or SSE cannot be deployed in organizations overnight, and there is an absolute necessity to set explicit time oriented goals, which must also be monitored, continuously assessed, and followed up time to time throughout the migration process. These timelines are very crucial and of utmost importance to conduct a cost benefit analysis from time to time and measure the progress as we go. And technology solutions like SASE and SSE enable companies to operate during times of disruption like the pandemic. So they provide secure and high performance access to all the organizational resources, irrespective of the user location. And to achieve the successful implementation of such solutions, it will take time. And we have to be prepared for disruptions and difficulties as they migrate. So we just have to remember that the timeline that we set aside for such migration has to be thought through and it has to be justified. Meanwhile, it's important to understand that SSE today and SASE eventually is no longer an option but a necessity. And as the dynamically ever changing technology world brings new challenges with it every day, we must be prepared with efficient security operations and network capabilities to increase the security stance of our cybersecurity landscape. Thank you everyone for joining today's webinar. If you have any queries regarding SASE implementation, or if you want to just exchange notes on how your organization is planning for a SASE implementation or an SSE implementation, please hit me up. I would really love to get in touch with you. My email ID is on the screen. Thank you again for joining today's webinar, and all of you have been a lovely audience. Have a good day.